welcome everybody to the next DMU roundtable. I'm sitting here with a bunch of comedians.
Haha.
Hilarious. Uh, Quickly introduce yourselves again. I'm sure you're getting used to some of these faces by now, but I am Eric with Caveman Gaming, and it's my turn to record and put this little roundtable video together. So I'm going to take the lead on this one, but pass it over to Bo here.
I'm Bo. I've been DMing for 40 plus years now. And I've been DMing for it's about to be 4 kids groups here in town. So lots. Yes, lots.
Eric here with the Arcane Table. Thank you very much, Eric, for taking over. Like, this is great. This is a community game. We play together as friends, and something like this should be shared. For the most part, DMU has been on the Arcane Table, and Eric said I'd love to have the opportunity to put it on Caveman Gaming, and I agree 100%. This is something that should be shared, and I'm excited for you to take the lead on this roundabout. Awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
But D&D gaming, awesome, lots of fun.
Hi, I'm Micah. Guess I've been here once before. Yeah, I've been running DMing for 5-ish years now. And yeah, and have a very strong technical background to how I
Hmm.
run things.
Cool beans.
I'm Scott. I've been with DMU for a couple of years now, and I've been DMing for about 5 years. And yeah, love the group. So
Cool beans.
So thanks, guys. Let's just jump right into our discussion for today. We have a few topics we're gonna go over. I think the first one that I'm not cheating off of Eric's notes, but
That's
rather to bring
okay.
my own, because actually my phone is being used to record.
Oh, been there, done that. Yeah.
So we were going to talk about some DM burnout. I think something we've all kind of experienced fairly recently, especially with some of the recent events and how many games we do typically run in a month or a week or
Hmm.
whatever. So,
Yeah.
anybody want to volunteer first?
DM burnout. Yeah, it's a real thing. Just burnout in general. Life is busy. Stuff happens. Try to be the best DM you can. Be prepped and have everything ready, but life takes over, and that's a big thing. How does one balance game and how does one balance life? Bo, you've got like
Yeah.
14, 12 games on the go right
Uh,
now.
Technically, I have 4 going right now. I have a feeling it's about to multiply because the 2 kids groups I have, I originally had 1 kids group, and then it got too big, so I split it in half. And now those 2 groups are currently at 9 and 8, so I'm gonna have to split them again. And in order to keep it from happening again, I'm probably gonna have to start another group just to teach them how to DM. But that's suddenly going from a commitment of 1 night a week or once every 2 weeks to 5 nights a week, which is gonna burn me out. So I'm trying to work out exactly how to do that, and that's in addition to the 2 home games I have with my buddies, and life because I was just recently diagnosed as being diabetic and having to do a ton of stuff health wise for that. So it's a matter of I, I'm drafting the email for all the parents and kids right now. Like, okay, things are gonna have to change. I can't keep doing this. So, but that's to me from past experience. That's the most important thing is learn to identify when the burnout's gonna come. When you're putting yourself in a situation where like this is not sustainable. Yeah, and overcommitment and that sort of stuff. Like with this, the kids group, it's great, it's fun, but there's no one's in a position where they can DM 4 groups of hyperactive ADHD kids.
It's a lot. It's a lot, guys.
I mean, basically, what you're talking about is self-care, which is something that I'm very close to because of my job. Um, And I mean, I think some of it is what we do here and how important it is to be part of a group like DMU. We have that outlet on Discord to say, hey, you know what, man, this is a lot, or hey, I don't feel like I'm knocking it out of the park today. Can you guys give me a hand? Or, um, today I just felt like I had a really great idea and it didn't stick. And you've got your peers around you saying, you know what, man, that happens, or you know what, it probably wasn't as bad as you think internally,
Yeah.
and whatnot. So that self care is important. And it's so awesome that we have made a community that allows us to do it, because some DMs just live in their head and don't have that.
True. Absolutely.
So while we do stuff that we really like and is fun, and we get to do cool things like Extra Life and PopCon and whatnot, this group is, in my opinion, so important just for that other component that allows us to do self care.
Absolutely. I wrote down prioritize, and then that's just it. Prioritizing what's most important. Like D&D is very important to me. It's a big part of who I am, but not at the expense of my mental health, my physical health, or my family. And I recently had to step back on a couple of things. One of them, thank you very much, Scott, was with the Extra Life the game day, and saying how much I felt I was behind the gun, behind the eight ball, and Scott stepped up and took over responsibilities for organizing the tabletop portion of the Extra Life, which I'm eternally grateful for.
But while I could step back, then I didn't. I mean, I had to DM at the last second, but whatever. We had three other guys that were there all day doing things that I think if I would have been at Bo's table as much as Bo was at Bo's table, I would have been mentally drained and
Yeah,
maybe said, I don't know, come back to Extra Life.
Nice.
So like we've got a lot of good dudes around us that complement us, and so when that domino falls because of burnout, another domino picks it up, and
yeah,
then another one domino picks it up, and that's super cool.
yeah.
I only ever run one game at a time. So burnout is different in that situation, I think, because I think there's a couple different ways you can end up with burnout. You can end up with creative burnout. You can end up with personality burnout with your
Yeah.
players,
Oh, yeah.
or you can end up with, it's just too much. Like there's the physical burnout of running too many games.
Yeah.
I've hit creative burnout and personality burnout before with players, and I'm lucky in that my table of players, there's players who also want to run games, but not long term. So I've had one friend who's now run a couple of summer campaigns for us. So I have a month and a half to creatively prepare for what's coming next and do some strat planning for like how are you going to die next?
Nice.
Um, and that's been really really helpful to be able to step back. But also like I think my players also pace themselves really well. They don't rush through things,
Yeah, it's nice.
so I'm often able to have what I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to be 2 sessions worth of material. It ends up being a month and a half.
You stretched out.
And so then when I hit a point where I have a creative lull, what I thought was 2 weeks of material is now a month and a half. So it gives me a month and a half to think of what's coming in next.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good point, Micah.
mm, thank you very much. Again, I think it also helps to pinpoint like what is the cause, what type of burnout is it? Because like the way to do is different. Like if it's creative, you can't just push through it in the same way that like if it's physical, like and it's temporary. Sometimes it's like, okay, I can handle this
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks, a month, and in that time I know I can wrap something up and something will fall off the plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric?
Uh, I'm actually glad Micah said the differences of different types of burnout, because that's kind of what I was going to allude to myself. Is like, yes, I run multiple games a week, and I've experienced that burnout from a physical standpoint, but I'm also currently experiencing burnout in one of my games just because it's been going on for coming up 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline's reaching the pinnacle, and everything in between ending it and like the current spot we're at feels almost like sidetracks and
Might have to do some creative editing there, but
yeah,
have at it.
yeah. Trying to pick up right where I left off there with trying to finish out this game without making the last little bits feel redundant, because it does just feel like we're going through motions to get to the end. Um, I am having a hard time like committing any sort of prep to this game because I feel like we just want to get it done.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really about what it always boils down to: talk to your players and explain to them. Sometimes I might just need a little break to refuel, refresh, come back next week, and we'll be better.
And then you feel like your stakes are higher because you're ending 2.5 years worth of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't want it to be. You don't want the
Right.
last 3 sessions to be a letdown.
You want to stick the landing.
You want to stick the landing and make it feel like. And that's. I mean, you can look at anything. I think it's the hardest part.
Yes. Yeah.
I think my situation just like the ending is over here, but right now we're over here doing something like rolling on random tables for travel encounters, and it's like you guys are going to defeat everything that I'm going to throw at you right now. Let's get into that dungeon so we can.
Yeah. Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
So I guess how does one combat burnout? Like, just around the table quickly. Like, what are one of the hacks that we would do to combat burnout? I guess I'll start. Is I step back. I'll just simply step back. Asking my players to take on a responsibility, like you're in charge of snacks this week, or hey guys, I need to step back from this week of gaming. I just need more prep time, or just hey, there's events coming on. I need to rely on my fellow DMs, to help out. And I find that does a world of good for me. That does a world of good for my game.
Delegating, whether it's like if we're doing extra life, you know, you're setting up. You're going to be cheerleading for this portion of it. You know,
Yeah.
I'll be running D&D. He'll be running Daggerheart or whatever. And like with my kids group, because it's taking off so much, and I'm getting so many new players. I'm I'm going to be adding a group that is strictly here's how you learn how to DM. And the idea is teach them to be the next generation, and hopefully they can each take one set of them as a table or anything, and either be a backup DM or hey, you guys go off and have fun on it by yourselves.
Yeah. Almost like a DM Junior
Yeah,
or DMU Junior.
yeah. I'm actually thinking of it as like DM high as opposed to DMU.
I think a good chunk of DMs are already high. So
Yeah. Hopefully not these kids.
gentlemen,
Um,
how do you combat burnout?
creative burnout, and I didn't really think about it until Micah brought it up. Immerse yourself. Like when I'm finding a hard time, man, what am I going to do next? I just immerse myself in book, TV, video game, all that stuff where I see a bunch of different stories, and not well, we all know nothing is new, everything is plagiarized, but not to plagiarize anything, but just to say, oh, hey, you know what? Uh, man, that's how Link found the Master Sword. How could I adapt something maybe a little bit similar so that they can find the sword that I want to find, or I want them to find, or something like that. Immerse yourself, talk with your peers, and say, hey guys, this is what I want to do. I don't know how to connect A to C. What's B? Anyone have any ideas?
Everything old is new again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, and it's like consuming media is how you feed your creativity. Because if
Yes.
you need those building blocks that other people have put together in certain ways, and you can start dissecting that using it
Yeah.
with your own.
With my I guess I'll say experienced players, because you don't want to ask a 12-year-old which direction he wants the campaign to go.
Yes.
But for like when I'm DMing from my buddies, a lot of times I will talk to them one on one. Again, we're coming back to talk to your players, but I'll talk to them one on one. Hey, where do you see this going? And build from that. Like I had one character that I thought was building up toward a complete and total redemption arc, and he wanted to go the other way.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go to the dark side fully before he came back, which adds different wrinkles, but it also gave me a jumping off point for something creatively, and kind of added to a lot. So
Cool. I guess that leads us up to number 2.
Right, yeah. So online versus in-person gaming. Um, I have quite a bit of experience with both, I suppose.
Which is great because I have no experience with online at all.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to both. I fully enjoy either side. Online is great because you have a much broader reach to different players. Like I play with people from the States, from Japan, UK, all over the world. And I find that prep is a lot easier. Like I don't have to build terrain. It's putting kind of maps together online. But in person is still fun because I do get to build the terrain and meet with some of my closer friends. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Guys, online versus in person?
Yeah, I prefer in person. COVID took my in person game online, and that's what the way that it needed to be. But I'm, I am the guy that works primarily in the digital realm, but I want my guys across the table. I like tone of voice. I like
Yeah.
emotional inflection, facial stuff in front of
Yeah.
me. And maybe I'm missing out on meeting a couple of cool people by not running another game online. But yeah, no, that's certainly my preference.
Yeah, like I'm 100% in person. I've actually, when COVID hit, we tried doing it online, just even with our tight group of friends, and it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. I couldn't, the improv wasn't there, and there was lag and people talking over each other, and then, okay, whose turn is it to talk? Then there'd be that awkward silence, and then four people would talk at once, and then one person would talk, and it just took me and my players out of the game. And so we did other things during COVID, but now, like exclusively, it's been in person, and I can't see myself doing online. Period. It's just something that just doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things that we found with our group was you lose something because it is more difficult. I mean, everybody experiences it with Zoom calls,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like you lose that ability to know quite as much inflection. You can't, you have to leave more space between somebody stopping and you starting talking because you can't talk over each other. But there is like, the prep is different. Like I found prepping online was easier. I found that running games online was easier. Online was easier for new players because they don't have to do their own math. They just click buttons.
that's a big thing
You
too. Yeah,
know? Yeah. But you also have to be technically minded to make that work
yes,
That's
because it's never going to work perfectly all the time. And at some point in the middle of your boss fight, everything's going to go to heck, and you have to try and fix it.
yeah.
yeah,
And that's the reality of that. That's the same as in person. Things go to heck in person too, but it doesn't. You're used to that. That's where we exist all the time. It
yeah.
doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, and filming for a channel, I'm sure you can speak to this as well, Eric. Like you've got all your equipment set up and everything is good to go. You hit record and you get back home and it's like, oh God, the audio wasn't turned on. Or oh God, like the battery died halfway through. And we're good, we're good. But that's just it. Like when it's just pen and paper, the worst thing you have to do is like, give me a second. Oh yeah, it turns out he's got 40 hit points, not 4 hit points, right? So that can be resolved pretty quickly, opposed to like the power goes off, or there's a lag, and then all of a sudden everything drops, and then you're kind of struggling to get back going. But yeah,
Yeah, I do quite a bit of both. Um, my two home groups are spread out uh, all across the province and
cool.
North America for the other one. And then the kids groups obviously are in person. Um, I will say that I think using something like Roll20 for prep uh, is to the point where even for my home games, I run Roll20 in the background
Hmm.
to run everything because I find it a lot easier. That said, I with all of them, I view it as an additional tool, and I make sure I've got uh, the hardback on hand because I've had times where the battery on the laptop dies, or there's outages for
Yeah,
Roll20 and D&D Beyond and that sort of thing.
yeah, something beyond your controlled habits.
Yeah,
Well,
basically, I think you take your group, figure out what works best, and then go that way. You can try out different stuff. Like my kids groups, we've tried paper maps, we've tried dungeon tiles, and just for the kind of stuff they do, particularly like the group that's in Undermountain, you can't do that with a map.
no,
No one has a house that big, and so it's just easier to do that online.
yeah,
Whereas,
pros and cons.
yeah, the other group does a little bit more theater of the mind and pen and paper.
Yeah, cool.
So it's just whatever works.
Yeah, know your audience.
Well, and that was one thing too. Like we did, they were in a maze, My group was in a maze. It was our home games. We were in my basement. I was like, I think this is the time where I'm going to pull out a digital
Yeah.
VTT to do line of sight tracking so they can run through the maze. Right? Like, that's a tool that suddenly makes sense in that situation. That,
Yep.
like, there's not a lot of other ways you can do that.
No, 100%. Yeah. And that's just it. You could lay your map, your terrain down on the surface, but then of course they can see the room over here. They can see the crevasse or the fissure over there. And so okay, well I'm just going to go over here, and you could lay pieces of paper over top of it. But that's so clunky.
Yeah.
Forget that noise. But something like that, with it was called War Fog, Fog of War. My apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that makes total sense for something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's definitely a great tool to have access to.
Yeah.
Even if you don't often play online, to know that that's an option and it can mean, you don't skip a day.
Yeah.
If somebody's sick or if somebody's on a holiday, but they want to
Blizzard.
still sit. Yeah. Like there's so many ways that having that in your back pocket
Yeah.
means that because scheduling really is
The crux. Yeah.
and the more that you can be consistent with it.
Yeah. Scott, Eric.
Yeah, I've already kind of added my sense there.
Yeah, I think we kind of nailed that one there. Like, it is different worlds, but tools that can be used inside of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do love using Roll20 even in my home games because I can put music on it. I use ambient music through it. Just having visuals, maps, handouts, extra little things that you can show your players,
Absolutely.
whether you're sitting around the table or online, is I just think it adds a little bit more.
It's an amazing time to be a gamer.
Yeah.
Because 20 years ago, there was none of this.
Yeah.
You were at the table with a grid map, a dry erase grid map, or, that was it, right? And now there's terrain, there's 3D printing, there's the imagination of, just media in general. And then plus there's this, where, you can do this all digitally and still have an amazing time.
Right, yeah.
Winter gaming.
We had something else for number 3, but then we decided to change it up because it was kind of something we had talked about before.
Yeah.
So Eric here picked one of my favorite topics.
Oh,
Winter gaming, snowy terrain, and hazards. I don't. We live in Canada. I'm sick of winter. It snowed for the first time yesterday, and I'm already tired of it, so I'm going to keep that out of my games,
yeah.
personally.
Yeah. So anyway, just like winter gaming, since it is coming on winter, is that something that you kind of throw into your world? Obviously, there's all the different kinds of terrains, environments, and stuff like that. But like temperature and conditions, and winter creatures, are these the kind of things that how do you run a winter environment, like a cold Arctic environment in your games? Is there any uniqueness to it? Something that's distinctly you?
I can remember one of my home groups I had a section of the adventure. I believe they were around sixth level, going cross country in the middle of winter, and I remember uh, having them do uh, what's the term I'm thinking of? Skill challenges.
Yeah.
Amongst the whole group to what are we doing to mitigate this, uh, bring this around, and we had a fair number of outdoorsy types in the group. I know there was a ranger and a druid that helped a lot with that, but mainly it's just coming up with unique challenges. Hey, you guys, you don't have any food. What are you going to do to catch food?
Survival checks.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it boils down to survival check, but mainly I find, and maybe this is just my players, uh, asking them what they want to do and just pulling the details out of them. Uh, if you watch anything on YouTube, for descriptive purposes, stuff like Outdoor Boys and stuff, can help for like the winter camping kind of stuff. Um, Survival techniques. Oh, you're gonna need to dig down and sideways in this, and you're listening for the snow to crack and that sort of stuff. Um, I guess that's where my ADHD jumps in because you get pulled off on stuff like that.
I've experimented with different things. I did more when we played online, and it was easier to track a lot of conditions.
Cool. Yeah.
But even then, I found like it was just too difficult. Like anything that was extra was just too hard to keep track of and be consistent with. So I dropped a lot of my desire to run environmental conditions for things, unless it was specifically for a location and not just like because you're in the mountains.
Yeah.
In general, it's like, oh, you're scaling the highest peak. That's going to be hard.
Yes.
You're just up in the mountains. I'm not tracking that.
The mountain becomes the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the challenge for that particular part of the adventure. You don't have them. You don't have them. Oh, you're gonna climb the mountain, and I'm gonna throw a griffin at you.
Yeah.
You make it more about the environment is the challenge itself.
That's the ideal time, in my opinion, to throw in like those traps, but just reskin them. You know, like the pit hazards. You know, rather than falling into a pit, you're
It's
falling
just a
down.
natural.
Yeah, or you're talking about the avalanche, or you're talking about like once again the lack of food, right?
Yeah.
Having to deal with the cold. Where's those Constitution saving throws? Okay, like it's -30. Well, you're freezing. You didn't bother to pack your winter gloves and your toque, right? So you're taking on a level of exhaustion. That's those rules are in the game, to represent those kind of effects, on the body. And so I lean into that. I really allow my players to be descriptive. Like, how cold is it? Like, we've already established it's -30, -35. We're all Canadians. We're all living in Saskatchewan. We know what it's like to be outside without our gloves on at -35. Rely on those real life experiences and tell me how cold it is to your character. Great. Roll me a Constitution save at disadvantage. You've got one level of exhaustion. Give me some flavor as to how. Right. And then they can, like, once again, they've got frostbite, whatever it be, so of course not going to be able to pick locks or, be able to be as dexterous, and so, okay, perfect. In my mind, that's how exhaustion would be a perfect example to kind of slip in there. Yeah.
For me, it's been a bit of a mix of throwing that in there with the same idea of, shoot the arrow at the monk. Like if you've got a ranger, then you want to get some environmental stuff. So if there's a snowstorm, then the ranger kind of gets to shine a little bit. And
Correct.
that's what you want. You want all of your players who have an idea of what their character can do to be able to use their talents and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, last year I ran some stuff in Forgotten Realms 10 Towns area, so there was a lot of snow
Yep.
and dangers and that type of thing. So then you've got to pull out the snow yetis and reskin some other things for some neat snow monsters or so on. I took a little bit of a neat sideways, used a character from League of Legends named Lysandra, who can do all kinds of neat ice stuff and whatnot, and made them a bigger boss. So yeah.
Yeah. Pull from other media.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote down a monster. Does anybody have like a cool like winter type monster that they fall back on? Because I've got one that I love for low level encounters. I use them all the time.
What's that?
The Miffits.
Oh,
The ice Miffits.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and once again, they've got flight. They've got like a ranged attack. They've got their fog cloud, which makes for concealment, and then they burst when they die. And so you have to make that deck saving throw so you don't get shards of ice. If you're within 5 feet of it, and they're just in my opinion, such a good little low level monster encounter, and they can fly away, right? You don't have to battle to the end.
And easy to reskin.
Yeah, exactly. And so I use them all the time. Like there's dust and there's fire and there's ice and there's whatever, wind or whatever it is. They're just great little creatures I throw in there. And I find they work perfectly for like that winter kind of Arctic terrain. Yeah.
I found myself using a lot of winter wolves with that one campaign
Cool.
when they were doing it.
Tactics.
But it also hit right in the right thing because it's like, oh, it's a slightly tougher wolf, but it's also got a breath weapon.
Yeah.
It also helped that this party was really, really bad with con saves, and that's what cold works against.
And once again, like if that weather is against you, whether it's heat, you're in the desert, or you're in the Arctic where it's cold, yeah, use those con saves. Have those environmental hazards or that environmental, temperature, for or against your players. Yeah.
Is one of the things that I've found helpful I started implementing a mechanic that allowed players to push their luck. If they didn't quite match the DC, they could push themselves to succeed. Which meant I now have a list of all the different resources that I'm allowed to take away from players if they fail stuff. Hit points of exhaustion, hit dice, hit points.
So explain
spell
that.
slots.
So you get them to re-roll, and if they
So they don't re-roll.
Okay.
So say you needed to, pick a lock is DC 16, you rolled a 15. I'd offer you the opportunity to you can feel that if you do this next motion perfectly, it'll work. But you're gonna have to, push yourself to do that. Like that's beyond your normal skill
Yeah.
level. And then if they want to push themselves, they don't know how far they have to push themselves. But they'll succeed in exchange for
Mm,
me
taking something away.
breaking their tools
Yeah.
or taking away some hit
Yeah.
dice or giving them a level of exhaustion because they'll focus so hard. But it gives them the opportunity to decide, is this worth pushing myself to succeed?
That's pretty neat.
I'll do something very similar, but I'll just improv it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but and so okay, absolutely, you didn't quite meet the DC. However, let's role play it, and just kind of I have that trust in my character. So you're talking about losing some equipment. Well,
Yeah.
your backpack goes flying, or you're falling off to the ravine, right?
Yeah.
It's gone, or whatever it is. Your fingers are scarred up from the jagged ice,
Yeah.
scratches, and so now you're at -2 to your attacks or -2 to
Exactly.
dexterity.
And that's how I run it. I just now have the list of things where it's like these are the options for what I can.
Cool.
These are resources I can
Pull from.
take from players, which the list would be the same for environmental hazards.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
okay, you failed this, so you're going to lose some hit dice or gain a level of exhaustion,
Yeah.
or use something out of your bag,
Yeah.
or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, anybody? Wrap it up.
Parting thoughts, Eric, from today's DMU?
No, I think we talked about some good topics there.
Yeah.
If anybody, watching has their own input, feel free to put it in the comments. I'd love to read them, see them, reply to them, get even more people's take on some of these subjects. I think that would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, burnout is a big thing. I think even when not if you ever play D&D, there's life. Just need to step back. You need to look after yourself. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. And then online versus in person, there's pros and cons to both. But ultimately, I think it comes down to you're having fun with your friends. Like it's an amazing time to be a gamer, whether it's video games or media or D&D. So embrace it, enjoy it however you can get it. And then with winter conditions, you're damn right. Like we live in Canada. Like 6, 7 months of the year we're freezing our asses off. So it's kind of nice to be able to disappear into fantasy and go to the deserts or go to the highlands or whatever, right?
Did everyone stray away from doing anything with regards to any illness during COVID in their games? Because I sure did. Yeah, no one ever got the plague, no, nothing like that ever. So yeah.
Actually, on a side note, when we tried gaming online through COVID and it didn't work, and so I had 2 months where I was off work, and I sat down and I wrote. I've been trying to get 3 books off the ground for the longest time, and in those 2 months where I wasn't gaming, I wrote over a quarter of a million words. Yeah, which is enough for 3 books. Granted, it's rough, but every once in a while I'll go back and revisit it and just tweaking here, and hopefully one day I'll be able to get those into a manuscript where I can actually have them proofread.
Cool.
But that's how I spent that time.
Parting words, Will?
Take care of yourself. It is an amazing time to be a gamer. I never thought I would be playing 6 games a week.
Much too much.
Yeah, it's true. That's when it gets to be too much. But take care of yourself, know your limits, and have fun.
Parting words, Micah?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a great time to be a gamer, but yeah, there's so many great resources out there now to help
Yes.
you solve the problems that you're experiencing.
Like
You just have to
DMU.
dig a little bit. Yeah.
Like DMU. Fall back and watch our videos. Yeah, we were all kinds of information here.
Parting words, Arcane Table, Eric?
Arcane Table. I just had 70 videos on the channel. The channel's going very well. Talking about burnout. I've experienced burnout with the channel. Like editing is an absolute biatch. But you just got to step back and take your time and once again realize what's important. And I was aiming for 11 videos a month. We're going into month 7, and I'm at 70, so I'm happy with that. I'm 7 videos behind, but I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. But look after yourself. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
Take it away, Caveman Dean.
You first.
Oh,
Closing thoughts.
Yeah, just like I said in my one discussion about burnout, it is so great to have a group like this that you can go to and have peers. So
fall back on your friends.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Again, I am Eric, Caveman Gaming. We are DMU. You always have a spot at the table.
There's always a spot on the table. Always. And that's my catchphrase. For the channel. But it's the truth. This is a community game. You cannot play D&D by yourself. You can't, but it's no fun. So whether it's online or in person, look to your friends. Look to the people you trust, and have fun. Kind of like the five of us.
Absolutely.
Five of us.
Community, have fun. It's a great time to be a gamer. Do you have what it takes?